Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Continuing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Prahlad's Prayers. We're on verse 14. 7, 9, 14. In the previous verse, Prahlad is reminding the demigods that everything Krishna does is good, and so they don't have to be afraid. He's also trying to pacify the Lord from his anger, and he's continuing on that theme in this verse. Tadyachamanyam asurascha hatastvayadya modet saturapi vrushchaka sarpahatya lokascha nirvritamita pratayanti sarve rupam nrusangha vipayaya janasmaranti. My Lord Nrsinghadeva, please, therefore, cease your anger, now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The most important point in this verse is that, although saintly persons never desire the killing of any living entity, they take pleasure in the killing of envious living entities like snakes and scorpions. Hiranyakashipu was killed because he was worse than a snake or a scorpion, and therefore everyone was happy. Now there was no need for the Lord to be angry. The devotees can always remember the form of Nrsinghadeva when they are in danger, and therefore the appearance of Nrsinghadeva was not at all inauspicious. The Lord's appearance is always worshipable and auspicious for all sane persons and devotees. Jai. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripasantubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Go Hare Go.
Hare Go.
Okay, so I spoke last week about how our work as devotees is to become convinced of and get in touch with Krishna's kind nature, because by that we can be confident, actually, fully confident, that everything he does is all good, and so whatever challenges we're going through, because he's in control and he's all good, then we can feel that confidence that he's in charge, and be free from the anxiety that comes when we have some mixture to our devotion. When there's still some sense of material desire, as with the demigods, then they were very disturbed with Hiranyakashipu's activities, very disturbed. And that's natural, because there are always disturbances, and in the age of Kali, which, check our transcendental watches, it's where we are right now, or when we are, there are a lot of people who are in the modes of nature, and although they're eternal associates, they're eternal parts and parcels of Krishna, they're confused deeply. And when they're in a position of authority, or they have a loudspeaker, or they have some way of amplifying their confusion, it's confusing for everybody else. So Prabhupada begins his purport, really it's a short purport, just by saying that devotees, persons who are not confused, they never actually want anyone to suffer, and they don't desire anybody's death, for example, at all. Although they recognize that Krishna begins his Bhagavad Gita by saying, everybody lives, everybody dies in the world. It's just like part of life. And so there's no point mourning it, but they don't desire it. You know, they don't want anyone to have to go through the material cycle any more than they already are. But what Prabhupada's referring to here, what Prahlad is referring to, is that somebody who's sane and is free from any sectarian considerations, which means that they don't make friends or enemies artificially. They see that somebody who's creating trouble for others shouldn't be doing that, and if necessary, then they should die, because everyone's going to die anyway. But if you're creating trouble for others, actually, we see the way that material nature is organized. You get put into timeout, right? Like if you create trouble for others, you get put into timeout. Maybe you get a lower birth, in which case you have to experience what it is to be subjugated by somebody else. Maybe you get a situation where you're not even human. It's a timeout. You know, you don't get eliminated because you're eternal. But it's like in kindergarten, and someone can say like, oh, well, you know, that's cruel. How dare you put the child in timeout? It's like, well, yeah, but they're like pulling on people's pigtails and setting fire to things. Like at some point, it's like, no, that's it. You know, I warned you. There's consequences. Here's the consequences. I love you, but time for the tough cop act. So that's what Prabhupada's referring to. That's the mentality, that the pure devotee always sees everyone's connection with Krishna. And so there's never any confusion of like, oh no, they're gone, or oh, they're suffering. Well, yeah, the material world is always suffering, living or dying, one way or another. But what's actually best for everybody, right? How to actually create a situation where everybody can be optimally engaged in their dharma to come closer and closer to source. And in Kali Yuga, everybody has some demoniac tendency, right? It's said that in previous ages, the demons and the demigods lived in different planets. Now they lived on different parts of the same planet. Then they lived in different parts of the same family. Now they live in different parts of the same person, right? And so with Lord Chaitanya, we see that the slaying of demons that Krishna displayed, for example, or Lord Rama displayed, or Lord Nrsingadev displayed, is not manifested in the same way. Actually, Krishna's slaying of demons in any form is always auspicious. When Nrsingadev killed Hiranyakashipu, he did something that nobody can do, which is he liberated him. This completely breaks the logic of life and death, of material life. And so only somebody with transcendental vision can see that when this gigantic, unprecedented form of pure righteous rage appears and eviscerates Hiranyakashipu, it's actually the greatest thing that ever happened to Hiranyakashipu, or ever could. But Lord Chaitanya is even more merciful, because he does it without the violence. Jiva Goswami says that Lord Chaitanya slays the atheistic mentality with the weapon of his transcendental beauty and with the holy name. So Lord Chaitanya is coming in an age where everybody is polluted in one way or another with some, they're compromised, right? They have some lower tendency. And here he is, and he's purifying us of that, right? And so this is how, through this lens, this is how devotees really think. They're thinking like, may my heart be purified of these lower tendencies. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, I forget what book it is he wrote it in, but it might be, no, I don't remember. But he writes that devotees who are aspiring for the service of Radha and Krishna, in Vrindavan, they take shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. And somebody could think, like, actually, technically, like the very orthodox Vaishnavas who are not in Lord Chaitanya's line, they don't understand this at all. They're like, how can you bring Lord Nrsingadev with his wrath into the sweetness of Vrindavan? But Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Lord Nrsingadev's mood in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya is very, very sweet. He's saying, actually, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings, and a song he writes about this, that Lord Nrsingadev actually is inviting the devotee forward, that I will purify this nonsense from your heart, these demons that have taken root. Come, take shelter of me. I will purify you so you can peacefully and joyfully perform the bhajan of Sri Radha and Govinda and you can come back to Godhead, to the sweetness of Vrindavan, because that's Lord Chaitanya's mood. Here he is. He's seeing all these frankly pathetic. The word pathetic is actually a beautiful and perfect word. It comes from pathos, to suffer. Something that's pathetic, it makes you suffer just by witnessing it. It's so pathetic, the situation of the living entities, that Lord Chaitanya is crying. Oh my goodness, everybody is so fallen. What can I do? This is Radharani's mood. Ugh, everybody should be engaged in Krishna's service, but they're so sadly disengaged. What can I do to bring them closer? So because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, even his avatars follow his mood. Nityananda follows his mood. He's Balaram, he comes in the mood that follows Lord Chaitanya. Lord Nrsingadev follows his mood. Whereas here, he's like making even the demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma tremble. Even his wife is like afraid to be in the same room as him because his anger is so completely unmanageable. And there's like blood everywhere. It's like it's a ghastly scene. It's all good. We know it's all good. Everybody he killed goes back to Godhead. But it's rough. But Lord Nrsingadev in Mahaprabhu's Leela is like, come, I will take care of you. I will remove this unnecessary burden in your heart, all this demoniac nonsense. Be peaceful. Don't be tortured by these inner demons, lust, anger, pride. Let me remove them for you so you can joyfully and peacefully worship Radha and Krishna the way that you're entitled to under the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So Mahaprabhu comes and he purifies the demons in the heart, right? And so it's a nice quote in this regard by an author, not a Vaishnava, but a thoughtful person. It's a Russian author, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He writes in the Gulag Archipelago, "The line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart and through all human hearts. This line shifts. Inside us it oscillates with the years, and even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained." Right? So this is the idea, is that it's not external. It's very much an internal process. And there's no amount of belonging to any group, no matter how righteous, that can save one from the work one has to do to get freed from those inner demons. And there's no amount of belonging to any external group that's unrighteous that can deny one the possibility of being purified internally by Lord Chaitanya's grace. And so that's the point. So therefore, the classic prayer, when we chant Namaste Narasimhaya, Prahlada Hlada Dayine, like that, these prayers, the mood generally for devotees is, and we see this in the writings of all of our acharyas. I already quoted Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's like, please, Lord Nrsingadev, like you're so kind. You're the protector of the devotees. You see how I'm being violated, compromised, weakened, divided by my own lower nature. You see that. You see my best self, my potential. You please purify these lower things. Get them out of the way. Kill them if you have to. But no one has to. There's no bloodshed. Just purify them so that I can actually reach my real potential in service. And that's why devotees regularly chant Nrsingadev's mantras. They do kirtan for him. They're praying for the protection of other devotees. They're praying for the upliftment of the world. And in Lord Chaitanya's age, which we're in now, that doesn't require bloodshed. Because if it did, honestly, there'd be nobody left. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. Lord Chaitanya, it's even there in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. There's one pastime where I don't remember what the instigating factor was. He saw some adharma, some irreligious activity, and he became very angry in the mood of Lord Nrsingadev. And he went out in public in that mood. And then he came back very abashed. And his devotees were like, it's okay, you're right to do this. You are the chastiser of the you're actually fit and qualified to chastise anybody who steps out of line. Because in this part of his Leela, he was demonstrating that he's Krishna himself. There's that small window in Mayapur where he demonstrated to all of his local devotees that he's actually none other than the worship of Krishna. But Mahaprabhu said, no, it is an offense to cause fear to living entities. And he didn't want to cause fear to living entities. Although Nrsingadev, he's like not afraid of causing fear. He's terrifying everybody for the sake of this incredible Leela of like an all-time fight, right? And to be an all-time fight, you got to be an all-time fighter. To be an all-time fighter, you got to channel some righteous anger. So it's good. It's a ghastly scene, right? Nothing that ever takes place in a boxing ring and nothing can compete with this. This is like all-time fighting. But everybody, other than the pure devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, are like, what? I can't process this. Mahaprabhu is not like that. Mahaprabhu is accounting for the confused and fallen condition of everybody, and he doesn't want to cause fear to any of them. So his process doesn't involve sharpened nails and wreaths of intestines. His process is sweet chanting, the most delicious food you're ever going to have in your life, associating with the saints you have absolutely no qualification for being in the same planet as, and sweetness and incredible compassion and patience. So that's what he's all about. So it's very uplifting, and it should be very calming and very inspiring, and we feel like, okay, when I chant, when I engage sincerely, like all this stuff comes up and I see my own hypocrisy and that's so gross to look at. Well, yeah, but Mahaprabhu knew that in a million years before you did. And here he is. And just take shelter of Lord Nrsingadev in that mood that, my dear Lord, you're here, I'm here, I'm trying to serve Mahaprabhu, I'm trying to serve Krishna, you please purify my heart. And trust that he'll do that in a very sweet way. In a very, very sweet way. That there will be no blood splattered on the wall. And any adjustment that's required is very, very, very much for our benefit. The devotees are very confident of that, and they become rapidly more and more able to actually ask for help. Because a lot of the thing that holds us back is when we're not able to ask for help ourselves because we're afraid of what it's going to do to our heart. The shift, it's going to be so jarring. Like, I'm so attached to that habit. I'm so like, but what if I like have to give up that thing that is hurting me? Like, it's still giving me some pleasure right now. It's like, yeah, but run the experiment. And when devotees run that experiment and they realize that Mahaprabhu's internal adjustment for us is actually so easy and sweet, then they become more and more like, oh wow, how else can I be transformed? Like, what else can I ask for to be purified so I can serve better? So lean into that because it's just a removal of a false burden. Right, we're carrying a burden. There's an old story, right? There's an old story. I don't think it ever necessarily happened like this, but it's like a story about an old woman who was, her service in the society at this point. She had like just a very simple service of going out and collecting wood, but she was very old. Her body was bent. She was in a lot of pain. And she was just going up every day and collecting wood and putting it on her tired old back. And she is like, life after life. This is her current life, just like one way or another in ignorance. But this is the nature of her current suffering. And then one day she's carrying the wood. She gets it all on her back and she starts lugging it back home, sweating and creaking and groaning. And she trips and it falls all down. And it's all down on the ground. Every piece of wood she's been collecting all day with her tired body. And she just cries out from the depths of her heart, with desperation, in a pathetic way, oh God, oh my God. And what happened? God comes. I'm here. What would you like? And she says, put it all on my back again. And so Lord Chaitanya is like, no, you don't have to carry this false burden. You're made for better things. So we can let go of our current paradigm, our current like Sisyphean trap of Sisyphus in the Greek tragedy. He was in a kind of hell where he performed some really, really nasty sinful activities, but what it meant for him is he had to roll the boulder uphill forever. It almost gets to the top, and right before it gets there, it rolls back down. He has to go back down and do it again. He knows it's gonna be fruitless. Always gets this close to rolling to the top. Our whole material life is a Sisyphean ordeal. But you can actually be purified of that by Lord Chaitanya's grace. So wouldn't that be nice? Instead of having to make your peace with like constant failure, just like being purified of these lower desires that are the source of all of our suffering. It's the source of all of our problems. So instead of just like having to constantly pay the price and penance for making mistakes, why not be purified of the desire to cause more trouble, more mistakes for ourselves? So, Om Tat Sat. There's a lot there. Talked about how the devotees wish good for everybody, but as part of that, they may want someone to be removed from the capacity to cause harm to others. And that we talked about Lord Chaitanya's mood in contrast with Krishna's, that nobody ever has to die, because what dies is the demoniac tendency. We talked about taking shelter of Lord Nrsingadev in that mood, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song, Lord Sri Nrsingadev's purification of the devotee, and how we can take shelter of that to become more and more advanced in our service, to let go of the things that are holding us back, which are numerous, really, for conditioned souls. I'm really just speaking for myself. And, there's so much else we can say about that, like the purification that comes in Lord Chaitanya's movement, and how it can actually, like, qualify even really vicious persons. We've seen this, actually. Persons who were engaged in incredibly vicious activities, when they come into the circle of Lord Chaitanya and his associates and the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, they become saintly, actually. Just really beautiful, saintly people, effulgent. I know, like, legitimate saints whose past includes, like, violence and drug dealing and nasty, vicious activities that caused harm to a lot of living entities, who they were purified and assisted to the point where just being in the same room as them makes you feel like you can go back to Godhead. That's the Leela. Mahaprabhu does that. Srila Prabhupada went to the Bowery. He did that. He found all the confused, most tamasic, backwards living entities and turned them into, like, qualified saints. So we just follow in the footsteps of that mood. And that's that. I would love to hear your comments and questions and reflections now. Hare Krishna.
I was looking up the book that maybe Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer was in. Is it the Sri Navadipa Bhavataranga? Does that sound?
Yeah, I think so.
Familiar? Okay. I was fascinated by what you shared around that line separating good and evil, right?
Yeah, it's a brilliant quote by Solzhenitsyn.
Well, but how before it said in the previous ages,
right?
It was like
it's more separation,
way more separate, and now good and evil, like how it went, like they were very separated, and then it was in the same family, and then it's in the same person, right? And how we really admitting how we all have shadow, darkness, light, right? Good, evil within ourselves, right? And it's so much easier to focus on all the bad things and the people around you, right? Without also doing the work and taking
that's
the time
Kanishta devotion. It's like, oh yeah, I'm reading the Bhagavatam, and I'm like, oh wow, they're describing all those losers out there. Glad I'm not like them. This whole finger pointing process of, like, it's really easy for the ego. It's entry level bhakti. It's like, oh yeah, all the demons. Yeah, we gotta take care of the demons. Like, okay, but what about you?
Yeah.
Who let you in?
Right.
Right. You gotta get the demons out of your heart.
Right. And we all have anartas.
Yeah.
So doing that, really being committed to doing that inner work, and how it is an internal process. And in order for us to be freed from our own inner demons, like what is it we were talking about the other day of think global but act local?
It doesn't get more locally than your own heart.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more local than that. It's the Greek word atomos is where we get the word atomic or atom. Mm-hmm. Indivisible. You are an indivisible unit of consciousness. You're not two people. You're one person. Mm-hmm. It's just like little accretions of stuff. Like, you can have a pearl, but if it's got, like, crud and sand and junk on top of it, it may look like a bunch of things, but actually it's a beautiful pearl. So you're indivisible, but you got to work on that local unit of your heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the beautiful reminders of really why we're chanting the Nrsingadev prayers, because it's something we chant so every day.
It's a part of our culture. As Vaishnavas, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for sure, big part.
Yeah, but really understanding the why, and one of those, it is for protection and of ourselves, of devotees of the world, and also to pray and call out to Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev, to come and annihilate those those demons within ourselves.
Right.
Yeah, it's yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the external trouble are just manifestations of consequences from internal misalignment, our own or others.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ultimate compassion is wishing everybody to be properly aligned.
Mm-hmm.
External timeouts are only necessary insofar as they wake somebody up who's refusing to like refusing to be reasoned with, right? Like a parent, a loving parent, never wants to put their child in timeout. They never want to deny their child anything. But if they're like sober and balanced, they may realize at some point, okay, well, actually now if I don't put him in timeout, they're just going to get spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to play me now, right? So I
Right.
have to show them those consequences. I can't wait for them to learn that so I can take them out of timeout. I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait to give them their allowance back. Like I would want nothing more than that, right? So it's still rooted in love. It's still rooted in well-being. It's not
Mm-hmm.
rooted in like, oh god damn, I'm so tired of this person. Like, got to get him under my thumb. You know, that whole
Mm-hmm.
like that's just modes of nature stuff
Mm-hmm.
that we can see. So yeah, just a bit of a tangent on the nature of the real nature of punishment. It's actually a compassionate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. More reflections.
All right, here we go.
Haribol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um, I was just thinking about how it's as and Kishori mentioned it, as did you. You know that it's so easy to look at others and say, "Look, I'm looking how purified I'm becoming. I'm just doing all this work, and I'm studying, I'm doing everything, and all these other people over here, are just they're just in this mode of ignorance that have no idea of how bad they really are." Like, and then at the same time, I start thinking about the fact that it's my belief that everyone is a devotee. It just some people don't have any idea, and they're not at a
Right.
stage to actually grasp what might be available, let's say, to them.
Correct.
Um, but it's a constant process. I went through years of getting rid of bad habits, bad things and praying in the depth of my ability before I even knew about Krishna, to God, to remove these defects and shortcomings from me. But that it's not a one and done,
Mm-hmm.
because even as I've gotten more and more away from addictions or whatever, um, all of a sudden things like pride will come in. Look at how great I'm doing here. Look, I know all these prayers by heart. You
Yeah.
don't, right?
Wait till you give in a class and people are praising you for it. You're like, oh, you're so great, Shamya Pras. What a wonderful class. Oh,
Right.
maybe I am. Maybe I am actually like what
I
it's all
know.
about. I
I
kind of
know.
suspected that, but yeah, it's really
And
tricky.
it's a very big trap that we can fall into, because
Totally.
unless we keep on realizing that we have to keep on cleansing our heart in a way, whatever the bad dog is trying to yap at our heart, we have
Right.
to keep on feeding the good dog, because it really is a subtle process. And so this awareness of who we are in this world and what we're doing and how we're walking, how we're treating people, how we're interacting in this world is such an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's what it came up for me, because it's really easy for me to point out that somebody else has got this stuff, but me, look at me. So thank you so much for this class, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, and that tendency, it's in fact, it's not just based out of like part of it is based out of like envy and hypocrisy that we can see others' faults more easily than our own, and part of it is just a matter of perspective. So that's part of why it's necessary to practice bhakti in association and to take shelter of devotees, particularly devotees who are more advanced than yourself and are like-minded and are inclined to help, because then they'll show you, they'll help you see like where you're at and what's next for you and how to let go of the thing that's torturing you, or even what it is if you're blind to it, right? And that's priceless. Actually, it's priceless acceleration on your path. It's like, because if you imagine trying to do that on your own, it doesn't. First of all, it doesn't work, and second of all, any progress you make is incredibly slow. So the whole thing of like I can notice other people's faults is like that's why it's so glorious to have gurus. collect those lotus feet on your head and just ask for service and purification and perspective and for their mercy and grace, because they can see and they know, and they're, even if they don't necessarily give you direct instruction, just their well wishes will accelerate the process of purification that's already there. But yeah, that process, that character of being very careful of how we treat other people, and just like really really self-reflective, that's something we see universally, that great devotees always have that. They're very very careful the mark they leave on the world. Like this term ecological footprint, right? Like devotees are very careful about their spiritual and karmic footprint. Like what effect does my life have on people? What is happening to people because I'm on the planet? Like what are the consequences of knowing me? They want to make sure that they leave everybody with a good impression. They want to make sure that people come closer to Godhead. They're always looking for an opportunity to serve. So it's incredibly refreshing to be around such a person, because like they're just so bright. They're always just like drawing people closer, like magnetically, like gravitational pull. You just get sucked closer to Krishna just by thinking of them or being in the room with them. That's because of that strong desire to like be very careful and always make a positive impact. And we can come to that ourselves. It's what we're capable of, but it takes great attentiveness to ask for help around all the stuff that's holding us back, which are numerous. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least for me. Any more reflections? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Shama Cross. Yeah, so we were talking about, I was thinking when Kishori brought up, and then of course, when Nancy brought up, getting rid of, the old junk, and, taking out the trash as it were, trying to purify the things that we're doing. I was just thinking about, Leanne and I had dinner together the other night, and we were talking about, yes, we were talking about how I admitted like how discerning I'm getting with my free time and who I want to spend time with, right? So I feel like I have just like a little bit of a wall up, because I don't want to spend time outside, outside. Okay, I have to go to work. I have to do I feel like I have to support my husband with the band stuff. So beyond those two things, I'm very discerning about what I'll do with the rest of my time. And, I want to spend more time with devotees. And if that's not going to happen, then I'd rather just stay home and read. So it's just really, really interesting. And what I started thinking about was, when you started bringing up the Sisyphus, analogy, where, Sisyphus is constantly rolling that boulder up the hill. That feels like my work life. Like most of that I had a super career when I was young, and then I stopped and I had babies and raised kids for a while. And then I got back into my career 15 years ago when I was getting divorced. I had to get back in. And I built everything I built now, and I could get in my head, and I just did. Just now saying that, I got in my head, like, look at me. But like the whole Sisyphus thing is like, I kept thinking to myself, I got to get further up. I got to get the title. I've got to get this. I wanted to retire as a VP. I want this. And what I've been noticing in the last several years is like, I get that boulder almost up the hill, and then we get acquired. And I have to start again. I get the boulder almost up the hill, and then my bosses get removed from the company, and I'm on my own again. And I started thinking this past week, why don't I just let go of this boulder? Like, am I okay with just, riding this out until I retire? I've never really thought about retirement as much as I have in the last week or two, where I'm like, okay, yes, I need to keep working to pay the bills, and I want to be able to travel. Right. So I need the money to be able to do that. I can't go to, Mayapur with you guys if I don't have a job. Right. So, but it's interesting because I've just, really started thinking about that. Like, I'm satisfied with what I have. I have enough.
Yeah.
And maybe I just need to stop worrying about, getting to that pinnacle or that thing that in my head that I thought was what I needed to be. And maybe that's the trash I need to take out versus everybody else out there that I'm not sure I want to associate with. There's a part of me I don't want to associate with anymore. And I'm trying to figure out how to
Yeah.
disengage.
Mm.
Yeah, you can ask for help. So saying it out loud is really powerful now in front of Mahaprabhu and all of us. Yeah, you can ask Krishna for help. That um, it's actually kind of like a deer chasing a mirage kind of thing, you know. It looks like water, but it's just a mirage, and we're chasing and chasing. That pinnacle is it's illusory. It's not one thing. It never. We can see that those who live like that, they can acquire unlimited amounts. Hiranyakashipu is the apotheosis of that. No one ever did it better than him. The acquiring thing, but it's described earlier before he was killed. He was so miserable. It's such an anxiety-ridden situation. So yeah, you're saving yourself a lot of trouble. Actually, like as a there's a part of life where there's a period of life where it's necessary to invest in like investing and creating and multiplication and more. But you also have to like learn how to divest. We have created a culture where we're taught to invest, 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 but no one teaches us how to divest of ourselves of the material. But you do, you have to. You have to let go of the thing, and then the attachment for the thing, and then the desire for more thing, and all of that. So you can actually be just like totally present with your spiritual practice. And all that stuff is like, I have permission to not do that anymore. I'm divested. In fact, when I was a brahmachari, it was like a practice of that. It's like I wasn't fully ready to be that for the rest of my life. But it was an experience of like, you know what? Your service right now is just to practice being a devotee. And you're allowed to not make money. You're allowed to not worry about those other things. Just do this so completely that when the time comes to let go of those other things that you have to take up necessarily to be in the world, you know what the goal is. And I'm so grateful for that because and by the way, like we're all getting a taste of it with all these morning programs. That's all it is. It's the same thing. It's no mystery. Just learn how to divest of all that other stuff because oh my god, I actually feel so good just reading the Bhagavatam and being with devotees. And wouldn't it be great to just keep going and visiting all these different temples and living like, you know, just going to Mayapur and all the little Mayapurs that have appeared in the world because of all the devotees going and purifying them. We just went to New Vrindavan. It's like wow, how many little yatras can we go on? And that's real life. That's actually real life. But Krishna is acting in you, I'm hearing, and indicating like what the next steps are. So I wish you all blessings in your divestment. May you very quickly and smoothly let go of that which is not serving you. Go back closer to Krishna because of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Haribol. Leanne?
Yeah, so let's see. So I didn't know what to say, but then as everyone was talking, I formulated. Um, so it just shows that with all that has been talked about here, there's so much work that we do for our like inner, and then Krishna guides us, on the path of what to do. And it's just, yeah, you don't realize how much inner work that is. And then when you're doing it, it's like becoming clearer. And then, and I don't know, just from my experience, like that's what's happening. And then it kind of, there's some other things that come in and you're like, oh, wait a minute, here's more stuff. So, and it's just like, a spiral of continuous things until I don't know when, but,
Yeah.
um,
It's an
but
upward spiral. You've heard of
yeah,
downward spirals. This is an upward spiral.
yeah. And, I'm always just wishing for all the people that I know that, are close to me or struggling things. Just, I hope that they always turn inward or be brave enough to do that too, because it's really very, I don't know, it's helpful to see, and it changes your perspective completely for others too, and more compassion comes in.
Oh, big
So,
time. Big time. And never be afraid or be shy to pray. Never underestimate the power of sincere prayer. I mean,
mhm,
that's why Nrsingadev appeared. That's why Krishna appeared. Mahaprabhu appeared because of Advaita Acharya's prayers. Like there's always there's always some devotees involved in prayer. Krishna is always looking to give credit to his devotees. So if you're praying for the thing that Krishna wants to get done anyway, he's like, yeah, I did it for them. They asked for it, but he's going to do it anyway. So just keep praying. Keep praying that the best good happens for everybody, even if it's something that's beyond your control, like if it's outside of your own heart, right? Or if it's something in your heart you don't have the power to control right now. Pray for that, and that's our asset always. So I love that you're like intentionally reflecting positive benefit for everybody around you. That's prayer. When you do that with Krishna in the middle, it's like, please, Krishna, I can't, but you can, benefit these living entities. Yeah, none of us would be here if others hadn't prayed for us. I promise you that. Yeah. Haribol. All right, I feel purified. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Prahlad Narahari Bhagavan ki jai. Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen, conditioned souls. Jai. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripasantubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hari Hari Bol. Thanks everyone.